So let's take a look at what we've got going on here. I created a new problem set for us to work with. By that, I mean I simply created a new income statement. An income statement called the New Spot Restaurant. Looks like every income statement you've worked with up until this point. And this place ended up with a $50,000 profit. Remember, in this case, that $50,000, we already have plans for that. We're going to reinvest it back into the restaurant. So this isn't on the table to take on new spending patterns and that sort of thing. This is what I expect for this company to be able to do during this year at this level of business. Bring in this amount of revenue, right? And end up with that $50,000 profit. Perfect. And that's how I go into the new year with this budget in mind. The first thing that I would do, and we talked about this before, is a vertical analysis. You know as well as I do that a vertical analysis is simply, and I start it here, right? And I'm dividing each line item by the total sales or total revenue, even if it's dividing that by itself. I start there, I put a little dollar sign there, drag it down, right? So the vertical analysis we know how to do. And hopefully there it is, completely done for us. If you don't know how to do that, go to a prior thing and make sure that is done. That is the first step, vertical analysis. Second step is deciding whether each of these items are either fixed or variable. We've begun to learn that with businesses. Remember, every business has fixed costs and variable costs. And once I know how they behave, and once I know which of my costs are fixed and which of mine are variable, then I can start making decisions as to should I do this or should I do that. So the next idea is then to decide which of your costs, only your costs, don't worry about your income lines or your profit lines, right? Those are about how much money you made or how much money you retained after some costs were paid. Are they fixed or are they variable? We already know that some costs are always fixed, right? Cost of sales, or also known as cost of goods sold, is always variable, right? Because I need to buy more stuff in order to sell more stuff. So the more food I sell, well, I have to buy more food in proportion to this increase in volume. If I'm selling sneakers, I have to buy more sneakers so I can sell more sneakers. That's my cost of goods, because it is, in fact, the goods I sell. Some things are always variable like that. Or, we know that staff, hourly payroll is always variable. Then there are some things that could be variable, could be fixed. And we talked about those a little bit. We know rent is always fixed, right? We know that our firm marketing costs, because we decided on them the prior year, they are fixed. But then we decided things like utilities might be fixed, might be variable based on your company. Something like plowing snow rather, might be fixed, might be variable based on your company. So as long as you're consistent with what you call fixed and what you call variable, you're cool. So we went ahead and did that, the next column, right? So we start here, right? Income statement, you know how to make one, you know how to read one, top to bottom. Then vertical analysis, very simple. Excel piece. It just tells me how much of my revenue was eaten up by each cost line, right? For instance, in this case, for this company, 29.3% of my revenue went to pay for, it's a restaurant, went to pay for the food and beverage I purchased in order to sell it to a guest. Side note, vertical analysis doesn't mean anything unless I have something to compare it to, right? Compared to an industry standard, compared to how I was doing last year, compared to how I should be doing according to my boss or my franchise or whatever. On their own, we don't mean anything here. Then we do this. Next piece is easy. I've just created a little table here. This isn't really accounting. It's just made for this particular exercise when you want to know what are my fixed costs, what are my variable costs, what's my contribution margin percentage, and what's my break-even point. So everything we're doing up until this point is just to learn this information. Then I can apply that information to answer some questions. So everything we're doing up until now is just steps in order to have the information needed to make decisions. So again, start with my income statement, do a vertical analysis, decide if things are fixed or variable, and then put all my fixed costs here with the total at the bottom, Remember, fixed costs are always a specific dollar amount. And then put all my variable costs here with a total at the bottom. Remember, variable costs are always a specific percentage amount. So I just add up all my, if it is a variable cost like this, I would take 29.3, put it over there. Staff payroll, I know that. And I know that employee benefit are always variable. Bring those over, bring those over. All my variables, bring them over, add them up. Same thing with fixed. Pardon me. I apologize. Any of my total costs, right? Not sales, not profit, not income, but any of my total costs are in dollar amount, and I put them over here. Dollar amount, dollar amount, dollar amount, all the way to the bottom. So I do that next. And I'll come back once I have that done. Plus I'll cough. Great. So I have taken care of this aspect of it as well, right? I just moved my fixed costs over in dollar amount, add them up. I took my variable costs in variable or percentage amount, added them up. Notice, by the way, I brought over even the 0.0 or the 0.1, any of those, no matter how small, let's bring them over so we know that every cost on my income statement is accounted for, right? That's why they call it accounting. By the way, remember, this is managerial accounting, right? Financial accounting helped us build the income statement in the first place. Managerial accounting is manipulating those numbers into different situations and different what-if scenarios so we can make the most money, right? So all we're doing now is creating these tables. So, by the way, just take a look at what I've done here as far as what's been variable, what's been fixed. Most of them are quite obvious, but some of them you might say, oh, you know what? I would have put the utilities, for instance. Here's the fixed cost at your property. It might be variable because you have more control over it. Restaurants typically utilize utilities as a fixed cost. Lodging places may go with a variable cost, like I mentioned in class. So we're back over here with this table, right? This is just this information transferred to a table and then added up. Left side is fixed, right side is variable. And then I'm just taking this number, putting it here, this number, putting it here, just so I'm putting it in a different place, right? This part isn't accounting. It's just me tracking the information I've found. But I do want to know what my contribution margin percentage is. Simplest way to do it is 100% minus my variable cost percentage. I know that's my variable cost percentage, right? So it's 100% minus 60.6%. In reality, this should be just to 39.4, right? Just the one decimal point. I'll fix that before our next step. And then this is our break-even point. Look at my formula for my break-even point. It's just fixed cost in dollars divided by contribution margin in percentage. Just go ahead and do it on a piece of scrap paper. It's just my fixed cost in dollars divided by my contribution margin, 39.4%, should bring you to $1,308,030. That's it. Okay, I'll come back with the next step done. All right, so when we left off, we had these tables filled, right? The only information really we've developed at this point is what are our fixed and variable costs, and what are our fixed costs in dollar amount, variable cost in percentage amount, contribution margin percentage, which is the difference between 100% and this 60.6%, giving us a contribution margin percentage of 39.4% and a break-even point of $1.3 million, which is simply a very, very quick formula. Your fixed cost divided by your contribution margin percentage. Now, this is what it's all for. Can I now answer questions? Because nothing stays the same, right? Remember, I put together this income statement as a prediction of what the following year would be, a budget, based on what had happened in the past, right? So I think I'm going to make this much revenue. According to the past, these are my fixed costs. These are my variable costs and percentage. This is how much money I expect to have. It was a little over $50,000, right? In net profit. That money's already spoken for. That isn't my money. It's the company's money. And the company already knows how it's going to be spent. New carpeting. I don't care what it is. But that's I got no money, right? Everything's already spoken for. Well, my dining room manager comes up and says, I want a $12,000 raise. I've worked here for this length of time. I think I've been a good employee. It's time for a raise. $12,000 is the raise. And you think to yourself, well, yeah, I made profit last year of $50,000, but this $12,000 can't come from that. So I better make some new profit, right? If I can make $12,000 more in profit, that can be used to pay this person. So I can go through a very simple procedure to see how much revenue I would have to make in order to end up with $12,000 in profit. Now look, I know you might go, what does that mean? Calm down. The idea here is it's a two-step process. One, I simply take my new fixed cost, the $12,000, the cost I didn't expect to have, plus my original fixed costs. They're right there. I just added them up, and then divide that by the contribution margin percentage. That's why I found that, right? Once I find this information, it doesn't change, but now I apply it to different situations. In this situation, it's exactly that. Take a look here. $12,000 plus, which is my new cost, plus my original fixed costs right there, divide whatever that sum is by 39.4%. And it tells me in order to cover all my fixed costs I originally had, plus pay for all my variable costs, plus have another $12,000 fixed cost, I need to make 1.3 blah, blah, blah dollars. Well, how much new money is that? Well, I just take my new revenue needed. See, I separated these so you can see them as a two-step process, right? The new revenue needed result here becomes the new revenue needed for the second step. I take the total revenue needed minus break-even point, gives me the revenue needed for the new concept. In this case, the raise for the fella or gal, I don't care. So this is my new revenue. Subtract from that my original break-even point right there. And that's it. What this is telling me that if I want to provide a new, I'm incurring a new cost, $12,000 to give this person. In order for me to have $12,000 in profit to provide as a salary increase for this person, the company itself has to make $30,457 in revenue. You have to get that somehow. I'm just going to do these formulas for you real quick here so you know how Excel does it. It's no different than how I've written it here in red. It's the $12,000 plus my original fixed costs. You see where I'm getting that? And then I'm simply dividing that by my 39.4%. Boom. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to prepare this properly by making it a currency. And I know in the case of this system, we don't have any decimal points. So there it is, and matches. That's good news. And then I will do the second part, which means I will take this. Right? We're just doing the green formula now. My total revenue needed minus my break-even point. That's what my break-even point was before I decided about this $12,000 increase. And $30,457. It proves to us, all I did was use Excel on how to do that. And it tells me, based on this place, it's going to change every time you do a different income statement because different income statements have different amount of fixed costs associated with them, different variable cost percentages associated with them. But in this case, for this property, to answer that question, I can afford to give this person a $12,000 salary if I can figure out, or maybe the person who wants the salary increase can figure out how the property itself can produce $30,457 more dollars. How does a restaurant produce more revenue? Sells more food, right? Has more customers. So if either the people running the joint or the dining room manager can figure out how to produce $30,457 more dollars in that way by selling more food or having more customers, then that person can certainly have their raise. But before I give a raise, I want to make sure that that person has a plan in how to get that additional money. Okay, so when we left off, we had just done an application of this method, right? We did a bunch of work to find out our fixed cost, our variable cost, our contribution margin percentage, and our break-even point. We only use that information to make decisions. So we have a second decision to make here. What if you had the opportunity to implement a new marketing strategy? Remember, this came to fruition during the current year. It's not part of your budget. You already put together a budget that provided you a $50,000 profit. You can't spend any of that $50,000. You already have plans for that. Here is a new marketing strategy that has come to your attention. It will cost you $42,000, $3,500 a month for 12 months, $42,000. And you're thinking to yourself, can I implement this? Should I implement this? Can I justify spending $42,000 more this year? Well, the reason we do marketing is so that we can then, in fact, bring in more revenue. So in order for this marketing investment of $42,000 to pay for itself or to be worth spending money, it has to bring in enough revenue to cover itself at a minimum. Well, this is where the cost volume profit approach makes sense. So let's take a look at that. So I'm using the same formula, right? My new cost, $42,000, plus my regular fixed cost. That doesn't change. I guess it's here as well. Add those together. The sum of that divided by 39.4% says in total, I would have to bring in a total revenue of $1,414,629. Well, how much of that would be new dollars that the marketing investment would have to produce? I just do the second part here, my total revenue needed minus my break-even point. Doesn't change. And in this case, for me to afford a $42,000 new cost, in this case, the marketing scheme strategy would have to produce $106,599 new dollars. So if I can take a gamble, and if the people who are selling me this marketing can show me how, by implementing this, I will have $106,599 new revenue dollars. I can go for it. And if I go above that, then that's actually true new profit above and beyond that $50,000 that I've already done. But in this case, if I bring in $106,599 in revenue, by the time everything is paid for, right? Every time I bring in $1 worth of revenue, it starts to being spent, I would have $42,000 left over and able to afford this. If the marketing doesn't seem like it will bring in that much money, then I've got to say no, as cool as it is, or as interesting as it is. So those are our two pieces. I suggest that you go through this and either follow along or do it on your own, and make sure that you get it, okay? And I hope I did all the calculations right. Okay, thanks very much. I do appreciate your patience.